What's up, everyone? Welcome to the CJ Unedited podcast. I'm James Hanson, and as always, I am joined alongside Miss Chrissy McNamara. Guys, we are doing this as a pre-recorded episode tonight, so throughout the show, you guys will see a little message that pops up as previously recorded. I am currently attending a concert here in Kansas City that I've been waiting 2 years to see, so I am super excited about that. Chrissy, how are you today?
I am excited to be here for this podcast because these kids at school will be trying my patience, but I'm okay. It's nice to see you. Tomorrow I will be resting and starting to work on my personal interest piece for next week.
Well, guys, I'm here, Chrissy's here. I know you guys are all here because we have been promoting this for the last 2 weeks. Tonight, we have the first ever winner of Tough as Nails on, Kelly Murphy. We are super excited to be interviewing him. We asked you guys to send us questions, and you guys did that. So, without further ado, let us introduce you to Kelly Murphy. Here we go.
My name is Kelly Murphy. I go by Murph. I'm 47 years old. I'm a retired United States Marine. I currently serve as the director of the Military and Veterans Center at the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg, Missouri.
Murph is somebody who has served our country. He's been deployed overseas. He's one of those people who's prepared to put their life on the line for the rest of us, and we want to honor that.
The one thing that makes me tough as nails is probably my experience. The things you get to see when you're overseas are the things that you get to do. But to me, mental toughness is the hardest to achieve. I use, for example, saying goodbye to my kids on deployment is like probably the hardest thing.
Murph is coming back! Man, that was quick.
Almost 50. He wants to come on Tough as Nails and say, I still got it. I can still take on these young guys.
I try to live life to the fullest, so this is like a check in the block of life.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kelly Murphy, the winner of Tough as Nails Season 1. How are you today, Murph?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I know I made Chrissy watch Tough as Nails. I know she enjoyed every single second of it. Well, Murph, I know who you are, but for those who don't know who you are, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself than what was in that little package that we just presented?
Sure. I'll just summarize it. So I was raised mostly in Southern California. I ended up going to high school in Indiana, a very small town. So that's the town I'm billed from coming from. It's a small farm community. It's still to this date has like four-way stop signs. So I graduated high school. 6 months after I graduated, I went to boot camp for the Marine Corps. Spent 22 years in the Marine Corps. Retired in 2012, and I ended up coming to Warrensburg because I spent my last year in the Marine Corps at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay.
And then I really liked Missouri, thought it'd be a great place to raise kids, so I focused my job hunt in the Missouri area. Ended up coming to Warrensburg for job opportunity with Lowe's. I was a human resources manager there for about 7 years. And then due to some corporate moves, Lowe's kind of eliminated the job of HR in their stores. And it put me here at UCM. The Mill Vet Center opened up about at the right time, so I applied. Been here at UCM for 2 years. Since the show, I've actually changed positions. I do community outreach. So what I do now is I talk to alum that are veteran connected, reconnect them with the university if they're interested, and then I answer questions for military students. So, for example, you have high school students whose maybe parents were in the military and they're looking at UCM. I just reach out to them and let them know if they have any questions military-wise that I'd be happy to answer them for them. And I do public speaking for the university in different venues as well.
Wow. See, I knew you changed careers. I knew you weren't there in the Missouri Veterans Office anymore. So I was just wondering where you were, and I was very curious about that. So me and Chrissy went ahead and we laid out 9 to 10 interview questions, actually 9 now because you answered one of my questions about what you do now.
Right.
And then we also took questions from our fans. So we're going to do that. And then we have a little bit of a trivia competition for you to see how well you remember your time on Tough as Nails. So I guess we can just start off with, you said you spent 22 years in the Marines. What did you do for those 22 years?
Well, when I first joined, I was aviation technician on two different types of helicopters, what's known as the QB and the Cobra. So avionics is, if you look inside of a cockpit of pretty much any standard aircraft. So I used to work on all the instrumentation system, all the wiring for those instrumentation systems, to all the components that send those signals to the cockpit. So you have certain components on the engines that we would change. We did weapon systems as well as part of an avionics job. So anything electrical, that power touch, that's what we worked on, or I worked on. I did a stint of recruiting duty as well. So the Marine Corps has 3 different types of special duties. One of them is recruiting duty. So I did duty for the Marine Corps in Southern Indiana for 3 years. Went back to the aviation side, and then I got promoted to first sergeant, and that sent me to the infantry. So I spent a few years with 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. So the straight, like what the Marine Corps is famous for is infantry. So I spent 2 years with the infantry, came back from my second deployment with them, and then that's when the Marine Corps said, we need to give you a break from deploying. So I ended up going to Fort Leonard Wood, and then there I was in charge of the construction engineer guys, so the heavy equipment operators, and then the military transport company that's there as well. I was a senior enlisted down there. And then, like I said, I retired. So started in aviation, and then it ended up in the ground side.
I mean, you did a lot. Like, no, my father wanted me to tell you, Semper Fi. My father was a Marine.
That's awesome.
So he asked a question that I have nothing to know about. So he asked a question, and I was like, I don't know what you're asking, so I'll just ask it later on. But no, I also have a brother who he is in the Army, and he had been deployed. So what was that feeling like, having to leave your family for those deployments? And where, I don't know if you can say, but where were you stationed at when you got deployed?
So for the Marine Corps, you usually deploy via aircraft or ship. So that's how the normal deployments work. So my first few deployments in the Marine Corps were before kids. So it was just different. Just had to say goodbye to the wife. And then, but back in my first deployment was in 1991 to 92. So, there's no cell phones back then. We didn't really have email. The only way we really communicated back and forth was by random phone calls or regular letter mail. So those deployments were a lot different compared to my last few deployments with kids, because now I have email. You have phones, you have all kinds of different technologies. So you stay a little bit better connected now in today's deployments. That doesn't make them any less hard. It's just you have the better opportunity to stay connected with the ones you love back home.
Exactly. Chrissy, do you have anything? I'll let you take the law. I just asked a couple, so we'll let you take over for a little bit.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for your service, and I really enjoyed you on the show. The next question we had was, what was the toughest part of being in the Marines for you, and how has that helped you thus far in your life? How's that help you?
Well, that's a tough question. So obviously boot camp is probably like the toughest experience, like right off the bat. Because I know there's a joke with all the military branches, but Marine Corps boot camp, everybody will pretty much agree that it's the hardest boot camp there is. So it's definitely life-changing. So I would say that was my first experience of how hard the Marine Corps could be. But there's different points where it's like your first deployment, saying goodbye. I mean, that's hard. The first time there's a loss of life and you have to deal with that, that's a different type of hard. So there's different things that are hard, if that makes sense. So I can't really say, hey, this is the one point in my life that was the hardest ever. I think each time you come across a new circumstance that you've never faced before that like is tough, that's your new hard, if that makes sense. But really retiring was for me was very hard. I didn't want to retire. My plan was to go 30 years, but I had to make a choice, and my choice was to watch my kids grow up. My oldest at the time was, I believe, 6th grade. So I made the choice because I knew if I stayed in for another 8 years that I wouldn't be able to watch them grow up, because I'd be deployed here and there. I wouldn't be the stable dad I wanted to be. So retiring was definitely one of the hardest things that I ever had to make the choice on.
So you're how do I say this? So you are you say that you're the toughest in your trade. So you went on to Tough as Nails. Did you want to participate in Tough as Nails? How was the casting process like to get put onto the show?
Well, so I started.
I already know this question. I've asked this question before, but for those who don't know,
I got you. Well, so I started an Instagram account when I retired from the Marine Corps for athletics. I had a T-shirt company that said, "Hey, we'll throw free gear if you post the stuff to social media." And I'm like, "Well, what do you want?" And they're like, Instagram? I'm like, "No, I don't have one." I started my Instagram account in like 2012, I think, just to have some fun with posting athletic stuff, gym stuff, shout out their T-shirts. And in January 2019, I got a message from a guy by the name of Jonathan. He said, "Hey, my name's Jonathan. I'm with the Discovery Channel. I'd like to talk to you about being on one of our shows." And I thought, yeah, whatever. Some type of scam maybe. So he's like, "No, dude, I'm serious." He sent me some information to verify who he was. Sure enough, Jonathan was this casting producer for the Discovery Channel. So I did some Zoom calls with him, and they put it together. Well, the show just never got off the ground. So I thought, well, that was just a cool experience. I've never done casting before for a show. And then, so I just left it alone. And then in October, kind of out of the blue, message Jonathan said, "Hey, CBS is doing this show. I think you would be perfect for it. Here's a link." So he sent me a link. I said, "What the heck?" So I filled out the link. It took like 15 seconds. And then that next day, Gabriel from CBS Casting contacted me, say, "Hey, can you do a Zoom call tomorrow?"
Oh, wow. That was
he got recruited.
So I did a Zoom call with Gabriel. He put it together, sent that to CBS, and then he contacted me back and said, "Hey, CBS loved it. Can you Zoom again in I think it was another week or week and a half?" And this time I did a Zoom call. This time it was with Phil, the host of the show, Louise, his wife, a few of the other producers, and a few other people from CBS were on the other side of the call. The call only lasted not even a couple minutes. Okay. So I was like, "Oh, wow." So I walked away going, "Okay, well, that was a great experience. I never did that before." And then a few weeks later, Jenny Hope from CBS Casting, she called me and said, "Hey, Murph, we want to bring you out to LA." So in December, I flew out to LA for about a week for the casting process. You do some different stuff. You go on camera and talk for a little bit, like physical, make sure you're healthy. And you learn a little bit about the show because obviously we're the first season, so nobody really knows what's going on. And then that was right the week before December of 2019. And then right after the new year of 2020, Jenny called me and said, "Hey, Murph, we want you on the show. Can you be available between January 15th approximately and February 14th? And I said, "Well, let me check with my work because I just started the job." And that's kind of how it started. I don't really watch hardly any reality TV. Actually, Phil gave me a hard time because I've never watched Amazing Race. And obviously that's what he's known for.
Oh, yes, he is.
I was going to say, they'll probably try to recruit you for that too.
Yeah, so I don't really watch much reality, much TV, let alone much reality. So to be on a show was nothing I was ever looking to do. But once I learned about the show, I had my reasons for doing it, and I'm sure we'll talk about that here shortly. But once I found out about the show, I'm definitely happy to be part of it.
Well, guys, here he is on the show. These are I got a bunch of pictures from Murph for this show. So this is just one of them. randomly out throughout the questions, I'll be popping up images up on the screen of just different gear he's in and different things. And we'll save the best one for last, which is you, obviously, winning and holding up the belt. But we'll save that for last. But Chrissy, you're good. You can go ahead and for the next one.
Okay, so kind of earlier in the interview, we talked a little bit about your experiences in the military, and now kind of like transitioning into some questions regarding your experience on the show. So I haven't served in the U.S. Marines for 22 years. What experiences from serving were you able to take into Tough as Nails? Like, what skill set did you have? What things helped you prepare the most, I guess?
Well, I would say one of the biggest things is a lot of times in the military, because you have people coming and going because they get out, you have new people coming in, or maybe you have people coming from other units. So you have to, a lot of times in my career, you had to get to know a new group of people in a very short a time to accomplish a mission. Well, that's the show. The show put us all together. You had to get to know a small group of people in a short amount of time, but in order to accomplish a mission, we're accomplishing a job. Mm-hmm. So in that time that we're together, we're getting to know like each other, like what are our individual strengths, what are our weaknesses, how can like Michelle's strengths complement my weaknesses. So you have to figure all that out. You have to figure out who's best at taking this role, who's best at taking that role. And, as people that watch the show know that Savage Crew did great the very first challenge, and we kind of fell apart for like several weeks in a row. But you see us each time we fell, we kind of learned something more about each other, and we were able to put together a very strong finish. And I mean, to this day, we're still friends. I mean, we have all kinds of chatting we do back and forth. And I mean, we really built a strong bond in that 30 days that we were together, and it holds true to this day. So like I'm friends with people from the Marine Corps from 20 years ago. Well, these people from Savage Crew and the other cast members as well, because we got tight, all 12 of us got tight. But I know Savage Crew will continue to communicate like as long as, we're on this earth.
I think one of the times in the show that I think I really saw you guys come together was after the gravel episode where you guys all had to like show all the gravel, and then Tara had the upsetness about not fitting in, and you guys all like kind of, then Phil came over and talked to you guys, and then you guys had that car ride home, and then after that I felt like you guys started getting a little bit better because then you started like stepping up and like rooting Tara on, and like everyone started like helping each other out. And I think that was kind of like the turning point for me when I saw you guys start like helping each other and becoming a little bit more tight knit and closer.
Yes,
and that's just for me, but
yeah, it's definitely
true.
true.
To root for you guys more.
Yeah, we after that, we had the oil barrel challenge. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were close, and Michelle and we all had some miscommunication. Then we had that one last talk in the van with Michelle, and then the next challenge after that was the moving challenge, which is my favorite episode.
The moving truck, yes.
So, yeah, that's my favorite one, by even more than the individual win, because when we closed the door on the moving trailer, and you see 6 of us celebrating each other, that's pure, real emotion. That's mm-hmm. not fake. That's not scripted. That is 6 people who overcame all their differences to come together as one and celebrate that victory. So that's still my favorite episode to watch, is the moving challenge.
So this one, this one's not a question that we had, but you just said like it's not scripted. It's real and genuine. People have this speculation that reality shows like Tough as Nails, Amazing Race, Survivor, they're all scripted. And is it true? Like, is that true for Tough as Nails? Because you see the arguments and the real fighting that happens between people. Is that not? It's not scripted?
No. So the best thing about the show is Phil said, "Do the stuff the best you can and be yourself." Mm-hmm. So there was no script, and so I was curious the other day what Google thought about that. So I Googled it, and is Tough as Nails fake or real? And every comment that says nobody can say that it's scripted. Everybody says, no, it seems to be a legit show. So even the people that are sometimes the harshest critics of TV, at least on Google, say no. It appears to be a realistic show with no scripting.
And I think that you can't really be scripted because there's challenges like when it was Michelle versus Lee in the belt or the hay, moving the hay and ringing the bell. They can't predict who's going to be the one that has to go into overtime. So that's why I can't see it being scripted.
Yeah, so. It's definitely not. And then, and I mean, so day one, you turn in your cell phone, laptop. So for the whole time you're filming, for the 30 days we were there, we had no phones, no computers, even the phone in our rooms. We all stayed in separate rooms at an extended stay hotel, and your phone in your room could only call 911 or the front desk.
Oh.
So, and then the next day when we would get in the vans, so a few of the producers would meet us at the hotel. And when we loaded in the vans, they'd say, hey, put this address in your GPS. And we drove to whatever location, and we couldn't look up the location on the phone because we didn't have them. So we drove to whatever location that day, and then we pulled up, and there would be whatever we pulled up to. You still don't know what you're doing until you walk on, and Phil says, hey, this is your challenge today. So when you first began, everyone has first impressions. So before the first competition, based on first impressions, who did you think was going to be your biggest competition, just based off of looking at the other people? And we'll bring them up. Looking at this group, who did you think was going to be your competition, your biggest competitor? Well, because Lee's a big, strong looking guy, so I knew he would be tough. But when you see Michelle, you're like, uh-oh, what does she have up her sleeve? Or because when you see, all these big guys, and then you see this 62-year-old lady who isn't very tall, you're like, what kind of magic does she have? So really, when I was looking at the cast, I couldn't tell you who had an advantage or not. I was confident in my abilities. But like I said, when you see a cast that has so much diversity in it, you're like, it's hard to tell what everybody's going to bring, to the table.
Yeah. I know, Chrissy, you had one based off of that, but like a completely different spin. So what was yours?
I feel like I know what he's going to say, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Which of your fellow competitors on either of the teams, I guess, surprised you the most throughout the competition?
I would say Young.
Oh, snap. I was wrong. I thought he was going to say Michelle.
Well, Michelle did. I mean, her ability to do things, she knew pretty much a lot about everything. So, there's that saying, jack of trades, master none. Well, she was a jack of many trades and a master of several. So she was very well versed in that. But where Young impressed me is no matter what the overtime challenge was, Young was always calm, collected, and he was never stressed out. And I know sometimes he got grief on the show, the audience, because Young, he's a firefighter, you're supposed to be able to do this, or he can't do that. But if I have a firefighter that is going into a burning building, I want them to be calm, cool, and collected. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm in the military, the people around me, I want them to be calm, cool, and collected. Young is definitely that guy. His ability to stay calm under pressure, but not only stay calm, but to excel. Because, he won 3 overtimes.
Yeah.
The first overtime he was in, he was behind. Mm-hmm. And then rallied back to take the lead and to win that overtime. And no matter, excuse me, and then the one with the tire, he was behind, came back.
I've under pressure.
So his ability to operate under pressure and excel under pressure was definitely very impressive to me.
So you're talking about these challenges, and I again, these are off the blue because there's some that you just asked. And you're talking about these competitions and how being behind. Which competition was the hardest for you to do and then overcome? Which again, I know the answer, but like,
Oh, I think I know.
Well, I'd say there's two.
Okay.
The one that I failed, I had to go in and carry out the hurt man. So we don't call him a dummy; they call it a hurt man. I had to go into the hazardous material building, locate a hurt man, and then drag the hurt man out. We do buddy carries in the Marine Corps all the time as part of our training. So I don't know if I got cocky. I don't know if I got complacent. But when I went inside the hazardous materials building, I just lost all focus. I forgot that you can go under obstacles. So I kept standing up, looking around. And I know when there's smoke, you get down low because you can see better. But for some reason, I just lost all focus. And in my head, the time was ticking. And I knew that by the time I found the hurt man, like my time, I had the slowest time. But you still have to finish the mission or the job. So getting the hurt man out and finally dragging him out, like that was probably the hardest. Like, because mentally you knew you already failed, but you still have to finish the job. So that was just a tough part right there. Physically, because the hurt man, they also try to make them weigh about the same as you.
oh,
So I'm dragging like 240 pounds out, and I realized at that point that maybe I should lose some weight.
yeah.
One of the girls said that too. Callie, maybe.
Yeah, I think Callie said that as well.
She said that. She's like,
Well, the one that I was thinking about is the one that when it aired, you came into Starbucks. For those of you guys who don't know, Murph is one of my customers at Starbucks, so that's how we got to meet. But the one that everyone congratulated you on was this one. The one where you had to climb the telephone pole because you were afraid of heights. And like that was a different task that was hard for you. And I that's the one I remember the most is just you coming into Starbucks and everyone going, you did really well. Like, good job for conquering your fears. So
yeah, I would say that. So the one I just mentioned, the hurt man, that was probably the most physically demanding.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, so in the Marine Corps, I wasn't afraid of heights when I was younger.
Yeah.
Used to rappel when you rappel in boot camp. I've done all kinds of stuff with heights, but towards the end of my career, we just had some stuff that happened that it just made me very uncomfortable with heights and not want to be around them anymore. So when I retired, I thought, well, wow, don't have to do that anymore. No more height stuff. And then sure enough, we showed up we were parked on a street in LA and we didn't know what we were doing. We staged the vehicles in like front of a soup kitchen. And I thought, well, maybe we're going to take the day to help do community service or something. And they said, okay, get in the vans. And we drive around the corner and it's a trade school. It's a tech school for different kinds of trades. And then all these telephone poles are there. I'm like, oh man, here it comes. So because they already had the hurt man hung up on the poles.
Oh.
So as soon as you turn the corner, you look up and there's these hurt men dangling from these poles. You're like, oh man, I know what's coming. So that whole morning I was, dreading kind of like what we had to do. So the linemen from the Lineman Academy, taught us how to put the gear on, but we weren't allowed to climb the pole until till he blew the work whistle. So the only thing you could do, you could go about this high up on the pole just to practice sticking your spikes in. But other than that, we weren't allowed to climb up until Phil blew the work whistle. So we're waiting to go. All I'm doing is replaying the steps in my head. Like climb the pole, you had to do a certain thing with the rope to get it over, to wrap it around the hurt man a certain way. Then you had to take a certain knife and cut what would be like his harness so he's free, and then how to lower him. So I'm not thinking about heights. I'm thinking exactly, I'm keep replaying in my head the steps, what I have to do once I get up to the top of the pole. And that helped me like kind of forget about being up in the air. Mm-hmm. And then I had the slip where my helmet came off, and because what I did, I relaxed my legs. And when you relax your legs, I slipped to the side. And then it took me a few seconds to readjust that belt and get steady again so I could finish getting him down. But what that job told me was like when you're up in the air, like you cannot lose focus of what you're doing. And I lost focus. That's why I slipped. But thankfully, I was able to recover and get my hurt man down before anybody else in that heat.
I was about to say, yeah, you won. You and Danny won that competition, so that's really good. Chrissy, I've asked enough. Your turn.
Okay, this is my favorite question I came up with, I think. So which competition skill, like of all the things that you had to do there, do you think is most useful in everyday life? Like even if necessarily someone's not necessarily in like a trade type occupation, which one of those things would you recommend like, people learn how to do?
That's a tough question.
If you want to think about it, it's okay.
Yeah, that's really hard. I mean, that's almost impossible question to answer because, so for example, I'll use the pulling alternator off the car. So, you have Melissa, a farmer. She's worked on all kinds of farm equipment. But the one thing that she's never really pulled off a car was an alternator. So like I would have never thought that challenge would have put her in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, I'll use, for example, Young's a firefighter, and a challenge that he normally does for work put him in overtime.
Oh yeah.
Climbing that telephone pole, I was against Miles. Miles climbs trees for a living. I would think that I thought Miles was going to beat me for sure on that challenge because that's what he does. He doesn't take hurt man down, but he climbs trees with the same type of equipment. So I think what Tough as Nails proves is you have to be somewhat well-rounded, or you're not going to make it. You'll have some challenges that you think you're good at, and then you fail miserably. And then like I did in looking for the hurt man.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some challenges that you think you're going to suck at and you end up winning. I would have never thought I would have climbed the pole and won that challenge. So I think you just have to be well-rounded overall.
I loved the alternator one because everyone is looking at working on a car, and then you hear Phil going, "Look at Murph, he's still riding around. He doesn't know where he's going." And then you literally find one car that just has one bolt. You go, "Boop, I'm done. Let's go."
Yeah. So every location was a real location. So that was a real pick apart in Southern California. So literally when we were doing the challenge, there's customers walking around looking for parts. So I had found a couple cars that had alternators in them, but they were just located, they were side mounted and they were just way too hard to get to. I've replaced an alternator in vehicles before and on aircraft. So I knew how to do the job. I knew that a lot of cars have alternator on top. Well, I found a Toyota that happened to have one on top. I took out the top bolt, went to reach for the second one. And like I said, it's a real pick apart. So somebody must have removed the component underneath the alternator because that bolt was already missing. So I was like, okay. So when we were allowed to cut the cables, the electrical cables, you didn't have to unscrew them. So I just cut the cables, pulled out that one bolt, went to go get the second one out, and it was already gone. And so it was just, take it out and sprint to the finish line. So I got pretty lucky. I still think I would have finished first, even if there were two bolts, because it was, the second one wasn't really hard to get to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I got very lucky in finding a car that happened to still have the alternator on top.
And you're right. You really proved that it was a real location when you had Lee, who was all the way on the other side of the lot, and Phil was like, "I don't even see him anymore. He's there, but no." Chrissy, you want to ask the last question on this basis before we move on to the fan questions?
Yeah. So this is interesting since you mentioned you recently started working with students. I'm also a teacher in the state of Delaware, and we do have a lot of students that go into trade. So what is one piece of advice you would give to young people or students who may go into trade or decide to serve their country, anything like that?
Well, I think, obviously I work at a college. My job's to help promote the university. But when it comes to, there's so many good trades that pay great money. you can go into the trades a lot of times with an apprenticeship or your trade school taken care of by the company. You can literally walk away with no debt, some great life skills, some good hard skills. The same thing with the military. We joke around and say, because it shows about blue collar, but the military is green collar. So there's a lot of trades in the military as well. We just say green collar instead of blue collar. But either way, you're going to walk away with a good trade that, you don't have to necessarily go to college. I have my oldest daughter is a senior here at the University of Central Missouri. My youngest daughter, who I thought was definitely college bound, she's been in the Navy now for a little over a year in a very technical electronic job. And then my son's a senior in high school, and I'm not really sure what path he's going to take yet. So the going to a trade is definitely, I would encourage it. I mean, I would have went to the trades if I didn't join the Marine Corps. I knew college wasn't for me at the time. Now, I finished my master's degree when I was still in the Marine Corps, so I still got my education, my traditional college education, but, I have skills, electronic skills that'll last me a lifetime. And that's what a lot of people walk away with in the trades is a good hard skill that you can use, no matter what.
The thing is that you used your experience from being in the military, and then I feel like being in the military and being trained, you kind of learned a little bit about each and everything because you knew how to do the I can't think of the word now, the body and you go into the smoke and I can't think of the words.
What was it called?
The hurt man.
Hurt man. But
not the dog.
Ultimately, you were able to pull out and you won Tough as Nails. You were the winner. You won the $200,000 and the Ford, the 2020 Ford F-250, F-350. I don't remember what it is. Really cool truck. I got to see it. That's a perk of, working where he comes and visits. But no, you ended up winning. You set the bar because now there's more episodes and more seasons. And I know season 2 they kept the same names of Dirty Hands and Savage Crew. Looking at season 2 and looking at what's going on, do you think they're gonna have the same challenges, or do you think they're gonna step it up and change them up, or what are your view on upcoming shows and seasons of it?
Well, I know that. So season 3, they actually just released the cast today.
Oh, really?
So the season 3 cast is out. And I know that the October 6th is the season premiere for the new season. And it looks like it's going to be really good. Phil's Instagram back in June showed filming of episode 1. And they were actually aboard Camp Pendleton.
Wow.
The base I was stationed at for 16 years. So I think that the show looks pretty stout. It looks just as diverse as our season. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the new season pans out. And I know they're casting for season 4 now, which actually films in the fall. The show's been a big success. I think we averaged almost 4 million viewers a night.
I mean, being in Warrensburg, I didn't at the time. I didn't know who you were, but I literally every day heard, "Hey, did you see that Tough as Nails last night?" And I was like, "I know who's on it. I've never met this man." And then you've come in, and I didn't put the two together for the longest time. But and for those who don't believe me that he is one of my customers, here is me holding the Tough as Nails belt at work. So I'm physically holding it. Made my boss take that picture. And then I also have this photo, which I was so excited to take with you. See, told you. He comes in. He's one of my customers. I know his order all the time. But the part that got me and the part that made me, I'm a big Phil Cohen fan. Love him. Love Amazing Race. But the part that got me was when he shared the picture on his actual Instagram page. And that I screamed. I put it on my Facebook page. I put it everywhere. But that was amazing. So now we want to move it into like the fan questions. The first one comes from my father, who this is a part of it since he was in the Marine. He wants to know what your thoughts are on the Marine Corps PFT replacing sit-ups with planks.
I guess time evolves. So when I first came in, it was regular sit-ups, and then probably 6 to 8 years in, they changed it to what was known as the crunch, like a shortened version of the sit-up, and now it's the plank. So I would say that planking is actually probably harder than sit-ups. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that I'm all for it. Anything that makes the test harder, I think, is a good thing.
So he served from 77 to 83. So he had the sit-ups.
Yeah, he had sit-ups, and I had sit-ups when I came in 90. And I think we had sit-ups until around 96 to 98. Then they switched to the crunch, which is, like I said, it's just a shortened version of the sit-up. They threw it out there because they thought it would be safer on your back.
Okay.
But
we do it in the gym. You just put your legs in the air.
Yeah, so
it's definitely.
I've done a plank once. I didn't like it. I will never do it again.
I love planks.
And this question comes from Carol. She is one of my coworkers. She works in Sodexo. She wanted me to ask you this. What was the Savage Crew reunion like when you had it earlier this year?
Sweet. So we met in Vegas. I think it was about a month ago now, 6 weeks ago. We hadn't seen each other since we were done filming in February, and it was a huge success. All 6 of us made it from Savage Crew. We got there. Some of us got there really late. Like Lyndon and I got there within an hour of each other Friday night. And then we all met that next morning, that Saturday morning, and just spent the whole day together. It was a great time. We got recognized way more than I thought we would in Vegas. We would be walking down the street, and people were like, "Hey, are you Murph from Tough as Nails?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, here's all the Savage Crew too." And people were like, "Well, can we do pictures?" And it was just a great experience. We had such a great time. Just spending time with each other, just kind of catching up, talking about season 2, what we think season 3 is going to be like, and just enjoying each other's company.
So we only had my mom asked a question, but it was literally, do you think that your military career helped you in the obstacles that ultimately gave you the win?
I think so. So the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps is a pretty physically fit, group of individuals. So I would say that I wanted to stay connected, so to speak, when I retired. I still wanted to stay physically fit. So I was doing a lot of the same training I did as a Marine. Mm-hmm. So I know that towards the very end, the stamina definitely helped me catch up to Danny. So I know that definitely paid off. And then, like we said, a lot of the tools that we used, I had used in my military experience as well, hammering stakes when we're putting tents up in Korea. So I've, drove stakes with a sledgehammer before, obviously used a handsaw before. So a lot of the stuff that the final challenge consisted of, I had done somewhere or some point in my career, I'd done things of that nature. So
we want to see how well you remember your time. So I went ahead and I did 10 trivia questions. Some of them are really like, you have to think. So the very first question is, who was the first contestant to ever be eliminated from Tough as Nails?
Well, the first contestant to be eliminated was Lynette, unfortunately.
Yes.
Robbed queen.
She pressed hard, and you guys were right there behind her to keep her going. Yeah. In total, how much money did the Savage Crew earn during the show?
So each of us, since we won 4 challenges, we won $8,000 a piece on the individual challenges.
Okay. What is the slogan for Tough as Nails?
real life, real life, real people, real tough.
Correct. Chrissy, what did you say you thought it was? It's time to get to work.
Oh yeah, it's time to go to work because that's what he said every time they would do something. Or let's go to work.
You were the second contestant to win 4 individual challenges. Who was the first?
Danny.
Correct. When I was doing that, I saw that, and then I went onto Wikipedia and I go, no, it's Murph. And then I realized that they combined episodes 1 and 2, and so he won the first individual challenge. Yeah. What was the car part that everyone had to find during the individual portion of the pick-apart episode?
That would be an alternator.
Correct.
The alternator is actually at my house.
Is it really?
Yeah.
From that day? Wow.
Yeah,
That's okay. So I'm gonna need you to bring that now to Starbucks. Like, it's gonna be weird walking with a piece of car part, but
well, on the 21st of this month at the Warrensburg Community Center, I'm actually speaking. It's open to the public. That's put on by the Lifelong Learning Center here at UCM. So they titled it "Realities of Being a Reality TV Star." So a lot of that first cookie, they call it, that piece of wood that I sawed off when I beat Lee the first time we faced, I have that piece of wood. I'll bring like some of the stuff from the show, like my hard hat, the thermos from the show.
I'm going.
You're going.
Yes. So I'll have it, the belt. I'll have all that stuff at the community center on the 21st.
The next question is, this is a trick one. Who, by physically punching out, was the last person to punch out of Tough as Nails?
That would be Linda.
Correct. Who won the advantage to pick the heats for the dummy telephone pole challenge?
Oh, that was Danny.
Yes. Who competed the most times in the overtime competition?
That would be my buddy Young.
Correct. One contestant never battled in an overtime competition. Who was that?
Danny never went to overtime.
Correct. Apparently, I like Danny a lot. There's a lot of him questions.
Danny killed it.
And this one, it's a dead giveaway. It's the easy one. Who is the inaugural holder as winner of Tough as Nails?
That would be the guy named Murph.
That correct. Guys, thank you, Murph, for coming on. If you guys want to follow Murph, his Instagram is at KWMurph72. He is Instagram verified. He has that blue check mark. I guess that's what happens when you win a competition. But guys, take it from Murph. If you guys want to be on Tough as Nails is casting. Are you or someone you know physically and mentally tough from your chosen job? Well, CBS is looking for those who are tough from their everyday lives, hardworking people who keep our country running. And if you think you are a cut above the rest and want to prove it, apply now at toughasnailscbscasting.com, because it is real people, real life, and real tough. Murph, thank you for coming on tonight. It has been a privilege.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I know there's a lot of people who are going to be watching tonight's episode. It's weird to say tonight's episode when we're actually filming it the day before, but I know there's going to be a lot of people watching it who are big fans of yours, so I'm excited for that. Chrissy, is there anything you want to say before he gets off?
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Thank you for coming on. It was great to talk to you, and I can't wait to watch the next season.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that supported me in the community. And, when that night after the season finale, I had over 1,500 messages via Instagram, email. People found my work email or Facebook Messenger, just telling me congratulations. And, I just wanted to, thank the fans for all their support, all the encouraging words, during the season. It was just so fun to be a part of. And, I do a little help with the casting now. I reach out to different veterans groups. But you're right, CBS casting, we're season 4 is being casted now. And I have a feeling that, they're going to approve a season 5 and a season 6 because CBS approved the season 3 and 4 at the same time. And I believe what I read is the first time that CBS approved back-to-back seasons for a show in over 8 years.
Wow.
That's how much faith they have in the show. So I think it's going to be a big hit, and I hope it continues, just like Amazing Race does.
Hey, well, I've told you many a times I want to be on that show, and I want to be on Survivor. I'm a reality nerd. We both are, so. But Murph, thank you so much, and it was like I said, it was a privilege to talk to you tonight, and thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. You guys have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye, Murph. Oh my God, guys, that was Murph. That was super, super exciting. Chrissy, what did you think about that?
I thought it was great. It was cool that we had him for a pretty decently an interview of a pretty decent length, and I thought that he was fun because you see him on the show and he's just often very stoic. He's the tough as nails winner. He's the Marine. He's so strong, but then he's just a big sweetheart teddy bear too.
Exactly.
So I had a blast talking to him.
Guys, switching from reality television with tough as nails to Survivor. Woo! We last night sat down and drafted our draft. That is available on YouTube right now. So go ahead, check it out. But you know what? We're going to give you just a tiny little sneak peek. Are you ready? Here we go. I cannot believe I put the wrong name on here. Oh, you picked the pastor. Man. All right. All right. So you picked Erica, Chantel, and who else?
Just that. That's all I have so far.
I'm muted, man.
I'm eating chicken.
That was amazing to do the draft. And you asked the question about David from Brian's versus Bronze versus Beauty, if he was the first person eliminated. The answer is David Sampson was the first person eliminated from Brains versus Bronze versus Beauty.
Yeah.
So you were correct.
I was getting vibes from
Guys, our draft selection pick chart will be dropped at the time that this is airing, so you guys will see it on there. Chrissy, this was an amazing show. As always, I'm going to say it again. It was previously recorded. We just want you guys to know that we do care about you guys, but we have lives. We have plans that happen and things that happen that we can't control, especially with Chrissy being a teacher. That's why our shows sometimes will be pre-recorded, like tonight. We thank you guys for sticking with us for this hour and 15. It's been incredible. Murph was amazing.
Oh my God, he was hip.
And we cannot wait to come back next week where we have our personal interest pieces and what is coming up in October. Chrissy, I know your personal interest piece is going to be interesting. Mine is going to be interesting. It's a very, I ended up in a deep dive for about 2 hours looking on mine. So guys, Chrissy, take it away with your social media.
If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is at CRSMac_Thor. If you want to follow my pup Kalua, she has a pool party next week that she gets to go to, so you might be able to see how that is. It's like the end of summer party for puppy daycare. So her Instagram is there, Kalua_pup410. And if you want to follow my bear shop, I am finally going back there this weekend, and we do have a lot of cute fall stuff coming out.
Guys, my Instagram is at jhanton. I'm going to start posting more about my own stuff. We got our followers coming now for our show. We're super excited about that. Guys, if you guys want to follow our show, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at CJ Unedited Podcast, or you guys can email us at cjuneditedpodcast@gmail.com, just like Carol did, just like my mom did, just like my dad did when they asked questions from Murph tonight. If you guys don't remember those and you guys are like, oh my God, what did he say? You guys can follow us on our link tree at linktree/CJ Unedited. All that information is right there. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us, coming on, letting us talk to Murph, and, you know, just being here for us. Like, this is a show. This is something that we talked about for a while on doing. And so to be able to do it and interview him and sit down with him is amazing. Something that we wanted to do with this show in the first place was talk to reality stars. And so
it's on time too. I love it.
It was amazing. Again, thank you guys for spending this last hour and 16 minutes with us. And we will see you guys. I still have our link tree up, and I am talking with our link tree.
Follow the link tree, guys.
Follow the link tree. It's all a ploy for you guys to follow our link tree. No. Thank you guys so much. Next week, we will be back. We will be live. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and remember to live your guys' lives 100% unedited. Good night.